welcome to this video. It's going to be about something called Reiki. You may or may not have heard of it. Reiki is a form of energy healing that was found by a Japanese guy called Mikao Usui. And since this is also part of the My Path playlist, that means I'm talking about my own experience with this. And it's really magical, so I hope you enjoy. I heard the term Reiki before, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, but I didn't really, invest time to find out about it or something. I just heard that there are these people who claim to, be able to heal people just even without touching them. So I just had the concept, but nothing else. And then through a strange coincidence, you may call it synchronicity or fate, or I don't know, but I met a girl who then later turned out to be my Reiki master. That is the woman that initiated me into Reiki, which was almost 1.5 years ago. It was so that within 1 week, I met 2 Reiki masters. And I've never met anyone before that practices Reiki. So it was like, okay, that seems to be something, when this kind of coincidences happen, then it really makes me think. And it made me think, maybe I should try it out myself. Because I always had this healer attitude, or this, like, I want to help, I want to improve the world and health and everything. So yeah, in the beginning it was so that we had this small group, like changing group, of about maybe 6 people, and like once a month for 3-4 times we met, and then this was like a group session on Reiki. So what you do is, in a normal one-on-one setting, is that the person that gives Reiki uses his hands, but mostly I think it's about the intention. But then of course with the hands you can steer and you can also feel energies. So you're using your hands in very, usually very soft movements, and you can touch the body during this, but it can also be that it's not necessary. So what I'm trying to do is to be very intuitive with this, and the person giving Reiki tries to be as much of a clear channel to divine healing energies as he or she can. So I'm trying to really not put any of my stories or like my intellect into it, but I try to specifically put that aside and focus on the very moment, focus on what I'm feeling, focus on intuition. Because also for me, I found that even in the very beginning, when I was treating myself or other people, I noticed that I'm doing definitely different hand movements than my master. She's usually just like this with her hands, and I'm a bit more magical with this. There's more movement involved. Sometimes there's new movements coming up depending on the person I'm treating, and it's very interesting. So the initiation process, I can tell you, I have no idea how Reiki works, right? So for me it's magical. It's a magical process. And so is the initiation. Plus, I'm not even 100% sure whether you would need an initiation or not. Honestly, I don't know. But since I got it and I cannot undo it, I don't know whether it's necessary or not. In any way, it helped me with developing that skill and maybe also with the confidence. So, but even although I have actually no clue how it works, I can still use it, right? So if you're using a TV remote, chances are you have no clue how it works, but still you can use it. And if you're still skeptic about whether these things are real or not, just consider someone living in the jungle, and then you tell him that you have this remote control and you can switch on that screen which produces pictures. Maybe he wouldn't believe you. you know, or that that you would be able to speak with someone who's at the other side of the globe and hear his voice through this strange instrument. So I invite you to be very open to the fact that just because you have not experienced these type of things, that doesn't mean that they are not real. Rather to the contrary, like you can't really say that something does not exist. I think it's kind of an impossible thing, because that would mean you would have to experience everything that is. And I think within one lifetime, that's a big challenge. So be open for, you know, new things. Be open for magical things. I mean, it's fun. It's cool, right? It's nice. And plus, with Reiki specifically, I'm really helping and healing people. It's not just we're playing board games, which is also nice, but like this is something that maybe even sometimes modern medicine has no answer to these problems, and also it can be there's no tools necessary for it. All you need is a pair of hands. I hope you have them, and your intention, which should be pure. I want to share my like the, my first stories were how I was treating, you know, in this group setting, and I didn't really know what I was doing before I was initiated, so I didn't know whether it worked or not. But then when I got initiated, my master told me that I should, for 2 or 3 weeks, I think, every day I should treat myself, which I did, and I noticed it has an effect. But then, of course, if you're using it on yourself, you could come up with your conscious or subconscious with all sorts of things, right? But like there was a strong response when I was doing it, and I think there still is when I'm doing it. So there is some topic I don't talk about right now, maybe in another video, but there was strong response. But then in Mexico, which was slightly more than 1 year ago, I was in one of these mountain villages called San Mateo. It's close to San Jose del Pacifico. And in the one morning, there was this, I think, American guy, and basically he was vomiting his soul out. Like, that was really horrible, man. That was really, really horrible vomiting. He didn't drink alcohol, so it really was something, you know, about he ate something bad, or I don't know. Although we spent the day before together, but and since I thought, well, it's maybe not so likely he will find a doctor or something in this mountain village, I said to him, look, I can't promise anything, but I can offer you a Reiki session, and then we see, you know, what happens. And he gladly accepted that. And the session lasted, I don't know. I don't look at the watch, but maybe 30, 45 minutes. He fell asleep afterwards, and when he woke up, he was like perfectly fine again. And he was so happy, and he wanted to spend me a beer and a pizza and everything. But for me, it was more important, because I was surprised myself, right? So this was the first, actually the second, but the first person after my initiation that I gave Reiki to. So I was surprised to see that it worked. And then, because the guy who was accommodated next to me, also in an Airbnb, he saw that this took place, and he had this height sickness. He told me that he has been to 5 different pharmacies or doctors and I don't know what, and nobody would prescribe him anything. Nobody would sell him anything against this height sickness. And I thought, this is strange, because normally maybe my idea was to not give him Reiki just for that, because it's not severe, you know, it's not really important. But when he told me that nobody would give him anything, I thought that's kind of strange. And I thought, okay, why not? You know, because I was still a bit insecure about whether it works, whether I can do it, whether I do it correct, blah, blah, blah. But then I decided to do it. And that was one of those instances, which since then happened a few more times, where I got the feeling that it wasn't really about his height sickness. It was more like a trick of the universe to steer him to me for this Reiki session. But since Reiki works like the best thing that can happen happens, and the thing that that person can, you know, handle at that time, You can't do anything wrong with it. So about the height sickness, it wasn't cured. Like, it changed not at all. But what happened was that for some reason I triggered a childhood trauma from him. So I could notice his eyes flickering like crazy during the session. And he told me it was something, I think it was an experience that he already forgot, something about his childhood and that his parents loved him or something. It was something about love, his parents and his childhood. So it was really important, and he was very thankful for that. I think it's something about love that he forgot in his life. Yes, it was, okay. So that's the magical thing about it. I have no clue about his I hardly knew him. I just talked like 5 minutes with him before. So it's not like, okay, my intention is now to trigger your childhood trauma. But like, I'm just setting the intention that the best thing that can happen will happen. And hopefully also the patient will have the same intention. Talking about this, I also want to say a few words about the placebo effect. So placebo obviously means that if you believe in it, then you will manifest it. This is true for placebo and nocebo, which means that you can heal yourself with your belief, or you can make yourself sick with your belief. It's even scientifically proven. So I think this plays a small part when giving Reiki. It's more about the setup, like what you tell to the people, how you tell it, with like the assurity, like how strongly I can convey that I know what I'm doing and I know that it works. So this kind of setup, it influences the session a bit, but I would say it's not the biggest part of it. Usually we set an intention before the session, but not always. So let's say the smallest thing that can happen usually is a great relaxation. That would be the smallest side effect. The biggest would be something like eyes flickering, feeling heat and cold, maybe shivering, triggering traumas. So everything can happen, and that's also the interesting and magical thing about it. So it's every time different. Yeah, and another session I would like to share was, I mean, there's a few more sessions that I did. It's not just a few, but ever since I got the skill, I applied it relatively often, considering I don't own a place where I regularly do it. But when I'm traveling, these things just occur, or I just offer it to someone. Another session was I was hiking with a friend and his friend. And the other friend, in the middle of the hiking, he said like his legs were shutting down, so he couldn't really move anymore. And we were having a break, and I thought, what do we do? We're in the middle of the track. We can't go back, and we can't just call a helicopter. So I was just doing some chi movements, and then I thought, okay, yeah, why not try Reiki? In this kind of situation. And that's what we did, or yeah, I did, and he received it. And it was a bit more magical than usually, because I was treating, like, I was kneeling down also in front of him, and he was talking to me during the session, which at some point I didn't hear. He was telling me to stop. He told me, but I didn't hear it. I was somehow, like, that was filtered out of my perception. It's really strange, because I'm usually very aware of my surroundings, but I don't know. But what happened was that he got like very how do you say that? Like, oh, I'm getting, when you're getting black in front of your eyes. I don't know how to say. So then he had to lie down. But like, in the end, of course, I stopped, and I also had the feeling that something, like, some energies were put into movement, and I had specifically the urge to stand up and do this kind of movement, which to me signifies that the energies are flowing back into the earth. So they're like, you're giving them back out of your system, which I had like one or two times before also already. So he was like feeling not very well actually, which took maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I must add that this friend wasn't believing in this kind of stuff, but just because the situation was like this, I offered him the session, and he didn't have experience, he didn't believe it, but then, I mean, this effect was quite strong. So after these 5 or 10 minutes, he fully recovered again, he took a deep breath and everything, and he was fine. And he could also walk again. So, yeah, I'm hoping that by sharing these kind of stories that I think you should see that I'm not making these stories up. It's something that, yeah, I experienced, and I'm sharing because to show you that there is way more to life than just, you know, the material, understandable things which your intellect can grasp. To broaden your horizon, and yeah, just to share the magic. It's awesome. And another thing that Reiki told me is about you have to apply it. You can read about Reiki all life, like you can do it for 10 years, but you have made zero experiences with that until so far, if you're just reading books. So you have to apply it. I mean, you can receive it or you can give it. That really depends on where you are right now, but you have to do it. And me, as someone who gives Reiki, for me, it helped me in overcoming perfectionism in a way, or, you know, because in the beginning, of course, you don't really have any clue what you're doing, and you're just hoping that it does something, which it did. But I like usually I try to be a bit more advanced, you know, have more mastery about the things that I want to give out to other people. But Reiki taught me that this is, I mean, sometimes, yeah, you need some kind of mastery, but then you will never reach the end with what you're doing. I mean, if I was waiting until I can cure blind people with Reiki, that's a lot of wasted time during which many people can profit from my experiences and that from other Reiki practitioners. So what I'm trying to say here is just do it. Just start doing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you get the experience while you're doing it. You don't get the experience by reading about it. Maybe it can help in the beginning with, you know, belief system building. But to be honest, I didn't read anything about Reiki before I was initiated. And even afterwards, it's neglectable, the amount of stuff I read about Reiki, because I'm someone that prefers his own experience over what is written in a book. What is written in a book, I usually just take as an inspiration, like an information without any, neither true or false, and I decide whether I want this or not. Like people levitating. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't, but I want it. I want that this is true. So that's it for this. Or maybe one more thing. There are several degrees in Reiki. I was initiated into the first degree. With the second degree, you get initiated into remote healing, and also there are some magical signs that help you empower the treatment. And I'm still experimenting a bit on whether without the initiation for the second degree I can give remote Reiki. I think it's possible, but I want a bit more security about this before I really share my opinion about it. And with the third degree, you're the master, which means you can also initiate other people. And I have the first degree. Yeah, that's it so far concerning Reiki. I hope you got something from it. Maybe got you a bit excited about it. And who knows, maybe one day you will receive it and you will see that it works. And then maybe you also become a Reiki practitioner, who knows. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.